Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. This is a special transmission, and joining me is a very special person, Utsav Chakrabarti of Hindu Action. But before that, may I request all of you to please like this video, and if you're not already subscribed to our channel, do subscribe to our channel. This is explosive breaking news, perhaps the first one to break this thing. Let's welcome Utsav Chakrabarti. Utsav ji, namaskar. How are you?
Namaste. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you, Shri.
Utsav, you have some breaking news for us. And finally, about a month and a half ago, when Pannu started saying that the Hindus of Canada should leave voluntarily, self-deport themselves, I had, put out a tweet rather strong. I said, when is the United States hauling a dollar of a certain individual back to the US to stand trial? Nothing happened. But today, the ground seems to have moved just a little bit. Tell us what happened.
It seems to have moved just a little bit. Very apt way to describe it, Shri. So today I came across just literally 20 minutes ago this article that has appeared on Global Strat View, and obviously you have tweeted about it. Hindu Action, we have tweeted about the article. It's very new and just came out that the State Department was asked by the Global Strat View, and that's what the article says. And it came out of DC. Global Strategy is based out of Washington DC. Whether it has any position or opinion on the threats that Khalistan cult members are making against members of the Indian community and the Hindu community specifically, and the threats they're making against Air India. Especially given the fact that they have a track record of blowing up planes, especially the largest terror attack in Canadian history. So when the State Department was asked that question, I believe by some journalist, they explained that they are against all form of violence or threat of violence in any form of activism. Uh, so this is something that is, I would say, a very positive statement by the State Department. It's long overdue, and we tweeted that this should have been a statement a year ago, and there should have been action by now. So, but there is some movement in this direction, so that is very good. I hope that these things are taken more seriously, given what's happening around in the world, and we know what Khalistan cult members are capable of.
Yeah, one thing that country after country, especially in the West, does is that, this guy may be a terrorist, but we know how to handle him. This undying optimism about their ability to handle somebody who is, a little bit kind of satkela, is how you call it in Mumbai Bhasha, that, somebody who doesn't really think, in his Punglish comes out and starts making this statement. I feel like laughing, Utsav, more than anything else. People are not taking you seriously, man. You can't do all this stuff. And anyway, but having said whatever you said, you are actually getting a bunch of people excited. I see the same set of people getting excited in San Francisco, another set in Washington, D.C., another set in New York. I think if anything, this Hamas experience should teach United States that, look, these kinds of things need to be nipped in the bud. You cannot try to control another country by trying to allow a secessionary group to start putting down. Do you think US will keep quiet if there is somebody who comes and says that I want, what is that guy's name, David Duke or something like that? Some extremist group in US, they take shelter in India and they start sending out statements. These guys won't even tell India. They'll just come in and blast the guy out, right?
That's exactly what they did in with Osama bin Laden, and that was the right thing to do. That's exactly what they did with ISIS Amir. So that's the right thing to do. And the fact that these Khalistan cult members can come online and keep on making threats, with both Canada and America knowing fully well what they had done in the 1980s and 90s, and what they're continuing to do even today. It's appalling. It's concerning. I also believe it's partially because we as a community and the average American knows so little about this, that once they get to know about the real threat that these people pose, I think there will be more action and there will be more pressure for action on these administrations. I think in Canada it is beginning to happen. I think what Justin Trudeau has been going through after his infamous, you know, accusations that he made. I think he's having the worst nightmares since then, and I think he also realizes that he's in deep soup. So I think America is also beginning to realize that, and the State Department statement is very welcome, I would say.
That is true. It's a good first step, but we
Yeah,
need to see some more tangible action. Let's move.
absolutely.
Sorry, go ahead and finish your
No,
thought.
no,
Then
no,
I have another.
absolutely. I just said absolutely. I agree with you. I agree
So,
with you.
so I have a small, I wanted to read the tea leaves a little bit. Uh, the midterm elections, the Democrats seem to claim that they have won big. Then there was this debate of Republican candidates. I didn't see the whole thing. Just summarize to us how you see the 2024 election shaping up, given that whatever you see.
So what I say may sound a little, out of the way and a little controversial, but I'm going to go ahead and say it still. So I do believe that the midterms, the Democrats have done better than most people expected them to do, and part of the reason why they did better is because of the abortion issue. I think urban America has more or less moved towards pro-choice as a default position, and because of that, in areas where there is urban voting, including in red states, the pro-choice voter made a big difference against the Republicans, and I think that played some role in getting the slightly more favorable Democrat results than most people thought, given the disaster that the current administration is going through, one after the other. So I think that is one reason why they did decently well. Now, as for the debates are concerned, I think there is, because America is moving into two major wars, and there used to be joke in the early 2000s that at any given point of time, America can only fight two and a half wars. And at this point, America is already fighting those two and a half wars: one in the Middle East, one in Eastern Europe, and half a war, if not more, in the Indo-Pacific, which is not yet a full scale war, but there is movements in that direction. So I think America is up to its neck and more in global geopolitical war-like situation, and because of that, I believe that the establishment has regained power. And when I say establishment, I mean the establishment in both the parties. Uh, there was a time 5 months ago, 4 months ago, when people like Vivek Ramaswamy were zooming ahead because they were out of the box. They are out of the box thinkers. They are against the status quo, and they resonated very well, and they continue to do, to some extent. They do resonate very well, but as of now, as I see it, because of especially what happened in the Middle East, I think there's more and more movement towards the establishment regaining back its narratives, regaining back its talking points. So I think that is going to bring up forth in the results. If it continues this direction, then there is going to, from both the parties, the establishment is going to gain more power. I would believe that that will not be good for Trump. But there is also one good sign that I saw in a poll recently, in among students who are below the age of 35, I believe that was poll, in urban areas, in universities, folks. There is a lot of support for Trump when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to national security, and when it comes to dealing with the ability to fight in the border issue, the southern border, literally non-existing at this point. Uh, and those things don't bode well for the Democrats. They're going to really hit the Democrats badly. So the Democrats have the abortion issue that they have kind of cornered. That will help them. But there are really serious other issues like national security, border, southern border, and the economy overall that will not help the Democrats.
Utsav, I'm going to ask you a question that might sound counterintuitive. By voting against Republicans, they can't change the law. I mean, the Supreme Court is still the Supreme Court. The bench composition is not going to change unless somebody chooses to retire. I mean, they are for life.
Correct.
So my point is, why are they trying to take it out on the Republicans when it is the Supreme Court that did it?
So it's $1 million question. I think most people do not think that far. 90% of the people vote through emotions. And I can say, like, everybody I speak to, especially, I don't have the right to speak on behalf of women on this issue, but what I have seen most women talk about, especially in urban America, it's all about pro choice. So that's the
but,
challenge we face.
but by the way, personally, I'm an independent, and I am for the mother to choose what she wants to
Correct,
do.
correct, correct.
And I've been, I mean, in fact, the day the judgment came, the first question I asked was, doesn't the Supreme Court have anything better to do? I
Correct.
thought the law was settled on this one. Why
Yeah.
go back and undo it? That
Correct.
was my question. So it's not like I'm trying to say this thing today.
Which is also
So,
the reason why the voting is so pro Democrat, because the Democrats feel that it was the Supreme Court and its new judges, especially the judges that were appointed under Trump, that skewed this tilt against the decision, and they are trying to take revenge from the Republicans for that purpose.
but Utsav, if they were Trump appointees, they could have leaned towards Trump in the 2020 election also, right?
the, of course, that's a conversation. It's water down the river. I don't know how we can get back to that conversation. I just let go of that conversation. There was a
See,
time when
I'm
Trump was a president, and there were Hillary supporters who were like, this election is stolen. Russia gave Trump the presidency. I'm like, I don't even want to discuss it. I don't want to hear about it. So I just move on.
So, last question for you. Again, politics. So, recently I read that in 9 states, the number of people who call themselves independent is more than both parties. And there are some states where it is both parties combined, it's less than the independents. And it is expected that this number 9 is going to grow up to 20 come 2024 November. And they said that independents are not only choosing, I mean, they are deserting as a registered Democrat or a registered Republican, but they are also choosing to come and vote. Many people used to think that an independent is like, this is all bad, I'm not going to vote. They're not staying home either. Given that there is a possibility that 20 states might be actually independent majority, people used to think, I mean, let me phrase the question this way. People used to think the swing vote was less than 15%. But if independents are the majority chunk in 20 states, don't you think this theory that 6 states will decide the election might not hold good?
Might not hold good. And I will also go ahead and say that it will actually help the Republicans, because
How so?
I think most of the independents that I have spoken to are closet or leaning Republicans. They just don't say it, because especially in areas which are very blue areas, which is urban America or even suburban America, but non-rural America, there is such a strong culture of quote unquote wokeism, that even if you mention that you like even one thing about the Republicans, by mistake in a conversation, people will shun you. It was like that since the time Trump ran. And I think that has led to many people declaring themselves to be independents, who are probably slightly skewed towards Republican but just don't want to talk about it. And I think the outcomes of the current turmoil in Eastern Europe and Middle East will be very, like, I do see a big shift in the Muslim vote. Many of them not just going to vote because they are just so upset at Biden for having supported Israel, because they almost thought that they own Biden, literally. So how dare Biden even say something in favor of Israel? Because that's how the climate had become in DC at one point. So it's going to be interesting in the next year.
Yes, indeed, it's going to be very interesting. Viewers, we just decided to do this surprise thing because finally something happened. I always wonder, I put out all these tweets. Is somebody reading my tweets? Is somebody going to act on it? Because, I'm very disappointed with the fact that on July 1st or July 2nd, if I remember correctly, the consulate of India in San Francisco was set on fire. And till today, not a single person has been caught. And this is not this is not incompetence. This is deliberately somebody doesn't want to move on it. Either that, or the people that have been apprehended have been treated as something else. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Not just that, I would even go ahead and say that the Khalistani groups, actually, in the last month, especially since Trudeau made those crazy remarks, they actually went on the offensive, going around and talking to important people in DC and around the country, that it's they who are under threat from from the quote unquote the Indians or the Hindus, however they put it. So I actually heard from many senior, I won't name names here, but people who make a difference in hot leadership in Washington DC. They were like, "Oh, the Sikhs are calling us and saying that they are under threat." I'm like, and they don't know the who is a Khalistani and who is a Sikh, right? To them, they just think everybody is a Sikh. I mean, I try to always say that Khalistanis are not really Sikhs. Their ideology is so skewed from what actual Sikhism stands for. But that's important for us to understand, that there is a constant effort by these elements to kind of play the victim, even though they are the ones threatening to blow up planes, and they are the ones who actually blew up planes, and they are the ones who continue to threaten people from Indian origin to leave Canada and America.
Yes, indeed, and thank you so much, Utsav. It's late in the night for you. It's getting to there for me also. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Are there any questions? Maybe there's one question. Let me see. Why isn't he in jail? Namaskar, Ashali ji. He's a good friend of mine. Go ahead.
Well, Ashali ji, the reason Pannu is not in jail is because people are not actually looking at all the things that he is saying and doing. I do believe that there are other Khalistanis in America who should be in jail before Pannu, and that tells a lot about the kind of people who are in Canada and America who are living here. It's a good question. I think it's a campaign that needs to be taken up, and I hopefully the law enforcement in DC, in the FBI and the Homeland Security, they take this seriously. I hope so.
And Pathar Tosser wants to know why Pannu makes hate speeches while Canada, US never arrest him. Same question, same answer, I guess.
it's see, they in these countries, if Pannu was somebody else, if it was any other person, I would think there would have been more action taken. I think we just have to be more aggressive in terms of educating people about it.
I hinted that, and I don't want to,
Yeah.
say what I'm thinking. It's okay, but people who know understand what I'm trying to say. Look, we are law-abiding citizens. We want the law, and we pay our taxes. We hope that as a taxpayer, we have discharged. We think that we have discharged our obligations. We're just merely asking you to discharge yours. By the way, a lot of things are coming out. There was a primary in. This is the last thing. I mean, we'll wind up. Primary in Connecticut, where the judge has set aside the Democratic primary. Did you notice that?
I missed that one. I missed that one.
Ballot stuffing, man. Ballot stuffing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I have a video. I'll send you the link on that one. And also more videos coming out of Minnesota. That ballot stuffing happened in Ilhan Omar's constituency.
I can see that happening. I mean, Ilhan Omar is I think we can actually have a whole conversation on Rashida and Ilhan and the things they're getting away with. I mean, I'm glad that Rashida got censured by the US Congress, but things they are getting away with. I mean, I had so many people call me after the rally that the quote unquote pro-Palestinian side did in the White House, in front of the White House. I can tell you, if it was any other community doing that rally, people would have been shot by the White House Secret Service guards. They were literally inside the White House and screaming and threatening, but they were not contained properly.
Yes, indeed. And thank you once again, Utsav. Last question. Shorts wants to know, if Republicans get elected, it's going to be Biden times 3 in favor of Israel. Turquoise covering eyes.
Even Biden has supported Israel. Let me be clear. I mean, we have to give the credit where it's due. Biden has supported Israel. It is a big section within the Democrats that Biden is concerned about at this point, because the level of influence that Muslim Brotherhood and Jamaat Islami has in the Democratic Party by this time is worrying people like Biden and Anthony Blinken and Jake Sullivan. That's the level they are themselves concerned, and that's why you saw the vote against Rashida Tlaib. 22 Democrats voted against her. So it's a serious situation.
I mean, I counted how many of them were Jewish, and I think 20 of them were. I could be wrong about the other two. They could also be Jewish.
So I'll tell you one minute. I had a conversation with, and actually I have a video. We can do a show on this with Congressman David Trone, who is running for the Senate in Maryland. And Congressman David Trone, for those of your listeners who follow what was happening, was one of the most vocal anti-India Congress members in 2019 when the Kashmir Article 370 was removed. He went on and on and on against India on Jammu and Kashmir. And so I met him at a recent event, and I exchanged a lot of things with him. And I told him that, Congressman, do you know that 100% of the people who you spoke for on behalf of all this time you were in the Foreign Affairs Committee are actually supporting Hamas? Because Congressman Trone, who otherwise supports Jamaat Islami on every other issue, because he is Jewish and because he's sane, I hope, is actually supporting Israel, and it doesn't support the ceasefire. And he said that very out loud. And I said, you got to go back and look at your own supporters, because those who you spoke for are all in favor of Hamas. And he kind of he kind of agreed that he made mistakes.
So actually, congressmen and women are fairly accessible. I mean, you need to break a little bit of a barrier, but once that happens, they'll talk to you as one-on-one. It's the senators that I'm a little scared of.
We should engage them with facts. They represent us.
Yes.
That's why it's important for us. One note I will make an American Hindu community should stop doing is to run around and take pictures with members of Congress.
Yes,
so
yes.
That's not why you donate money to them to take pictures. You need to ask them questions.
Yeah, and make sure that the video that you are running to record that actually is recording. I did one with Rokana without pressing the record button.
Well, it was meant to be.
Yes. Then afterwards, we had an actual sit-down interview, and that turned out very well. So thank you so much, Utsav. It's always fun to talk to you, because this is more of a gyan. At the same time, there's a tinge of humor in this. And US is what US is. And thanks once again. Namaskar.
Thank you. Namaste. Good night, everybody.